everybody. Welcome in to the Michigan basketball post-game live show, The Opener. Along with the senior editor of the Maize and Blue Review, I'm Dennis Fithian, and it's great to be with you here on opening night, and a successful opening night for Michigan. They win it going away 101-53, and they shoot an amazing 68%, which was almost a record, a couple percentage points off the team record. But Dusty May, Trevor, he records the W. Michigan was up by 28 points at the half, and there was tons of things to like about the opener here tonight.
There goes the light. Okay. Too much to like. Trying to reel myself down a little bit, remind myself that's the first game of the season. Michigan started pretty hot last year too, right? But I'll tell you what I like, just real quick, and not, I mean, I'm in full football mode, right? But a lot of the things that the football staff told us about what this team was going to do, what they were going to look like, how they were going to play, etc., hasn't necessarily translated. Everything Dusty May told us to expect about this Michigan basketball team, we've seen from the two exhibition games and from this home opener.
Yeah, I really liked the pace, the movement. I liked how they played hard on defense. I really like when, and yeah, they get a lot of shots up. That was what they talked about. They wanted points per possession. They wanted to get that offense really clicking, but there's a lot of movement there. There's not a lot of just standing around. Everybody's moving there, and you can see that. And they play hard on defense, and that jumped out. If there was one thing early on, and it ended up playing out of the game, there were a lot of offensive rebounds that Cleveland State was getting. But other than that, maybe a couple turnovers here or there. Everybody else, the team played well together. Stephen Bardo, who's the color analyst, he kept saying that, and then he had to stop himself because I think he thought, man, I'm going to repeat myself too much here, because he kept saying, wow, these guys coming together so early and them having this kind of continuity, it's really amazing. And then he said kind of that same thing like 4 or 5 times. And then maybe in the booth, they just said, hey, you've said that a number of times, but I got his point.
Well, I think that's the biggest assumption you're going to have in this new era of basketball, where you're rebuilding a team overnight in the transfer portal, right? We only have 3 contributing people returning this year, and they're not going to be huge contributors other than Amari and Cheddar, obviously, which I love his role off the bench. I think that's perfect for him. I think he's a big spark. It kind of reminds me of Brandon Johns in that transition from Johns to starter and how he kind of fell off, and he just was so much better as coming off the bench. That's what Cheddar is. And look, they're running 9 or 10 deep this year, and we talked about how many minutes guys are going to play. Not a single guy over 30 minutes in this game, because they're running nonstop. To your point, this is a fast team, and that's what Dusty said. They're going to play strong defense, and they're going to get back in transition quickly. And these shooters have license to shoot. If you're open, shoot. Right? No games. Good ball movement though, still, but they're taking shots and they're making them. I'm with you. The offensive rebounds early. When you've got Vlad, your 1 7-footer, and then Wolf, your other 7-footer, who's more of like a stretch 4. You don't have that big weight guy down in the post. So rebounding could be an issue, and free throws again, as well as they've shot in these first few games. I mean, over 55% from 3, like you said, 68 from the field, still only 59% from the charity stripe. So I guess if we're going to pick on anything, that's the stuff I'd like to see improve as the season goes on, obviously, is getting the boards on defense, and then hope, free throws are going to come in at some point, especially in Big Ten play.
There's always something that you can work on. Never play that perfect game. Justin Pippen, the true freshman, he didn't play, and Reuben Jones was a scratch in this game as well, and he was a starter in those exhibition games. But coming off the bench, you mentioned it, Cheddar and the true freshman LJ Kason were the first to come out. So that was 6 and 7, and then Sam Walters came in pretty quick after that. That was 8, and then later Fat was able to get in Brooks, which is still a lot of fun to say. And so they went 9 deep tonight, and you might see you're going to see a lot of contributions from the bench as they continue to flow that way. I tell you, there's a few things that jumped out. If I was going to go for the headline, I think it would be just a great shooting night. But Danny Wolf, what he brought to the table tonight a really stat line filler. And I would have thought when I just saw some tape of him that he was just a 7-footer that wanted to stand outside and shoot threes. And yeah, he knocked down a three tonight, but it was his driving ability. He is a great passer. And then he had a couple steals and he was hitting the glass and like he did it all. If Danny Wolf plays like he did tonight or something close, you're talking about a star type player. That would be number one, the thing that jumped out to me. We're getting familiar with all these guys, but Danny Wolf looked incredible.
Yeah, we talked about, this team had a lot of skill on it and a lot of players. And we could see, like we saw how many guys got double digits tonight. Was it 6? Right. 6 guys got double digits.
Four in the starting lineup, you're right. And then Cheddar and Walters off the bench, right? Yep.
But the question was, who's going to be the guy you go to when you need a go-to guy, right? Was that going to be Donaldson? Was it going to be Gale or Jones? And with what Wolf did tonight, you're right. Like he could be the guy. He can, like you said, he can drive, he can shoot from the outside, and his defense was phenomenal. What do we got? 3 blocks, 3 steals, plus the 13 rebounds, plus the 19 points, right? So he was plus or minus 30 in 24 minutes tonight, just unreal. And again, what Dusty said he wanted to do, the way he used Wolf and Vlad on the court at the same time too, really impressive. But that's a modern basketball player. That's what Wolf is. And I don't know that Michigan's had, maybe Livers at the peak of his game, the guy that could kind of hit from anywhere and was a force on both sides of the court. And yeah, it's early, but man, if that's what you're going to get from Wolf moving forward, then we can start talking about other guys. But yeah, that's top of the Big Ten type stuff.
We're getting, we got a little familiar with it with Big Ten season with the new teams and the Pac-10 or Pac-12 or whatever else. And so it was almost like a, Rose Bowl all the way through and all these things. And, the Big Ten Network, we see, they're stretching it in till midnight tonight. They've got USC playing, but on the Big Ten Network, Seth Davis, who's usually on CBS, he was there. That brought a big weekend feel already to the Big Ten Network. And then Raphael Davis, who's a color analyst, he was in the studio before the game. He said, I want to go on record. He said the best combo player in the Big Ten is Roddy Gale Jr. from Michigan. I was like, wow, that's heavy praise. Now Davis loves defense. He was a defensive-minded player, and then Gale came out and had a couple of swipes right off the bat and made him look good. Everybody looked good tonight. So you go through it. Gale 6 of 8 from the floor in the backcourt. Then Trey Donaldson, who got to start, he didn't miss. Hit both of his shots from downtown, 4 of 4. He had 15 points. And then during the game, Stephen Bardo, I've been the deal with LJ Kason, the true freshman. You heard Dusty May I'm looking at when you guys were talking in the preseason, and I heard Josh Henschke, the editor of the Maize and Blue Review, come on and say, "Wow, he's hearing about Kason." And I had to wait. Maybe it had to do a little bit with football and what you were saying. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm just going to wait till I see him. And then he just went off in that first half of the last exhibition game. But you saw it again tonight, and he was getting it in spurts. I don't know if he reminded me a little bit of Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler's 6'7", but he's kind of built like him, and the way that he's has the ability not just to take people off the dribble and go to the hole and finish because he's faster than him, but he looks for contact and to be able to finish. And as I was watching him tonight, he doesn't shoot like Chauncey Billups when he played for the Pistons, but he's got that kind of size. He wants to put people on his hip, and he can take them to the hole. I love that. And then Bardo said it, and I had to write it down because sometimes it's like this when you start comparing guys and you just like them. They've got a flair. And Bardo said, some guys just have it. And I think that's well put when it comes down to the freshman LJ Kason, 5 of 9, 2 of 3 from downtown. He had 14 points. And if that was the one thing I didn't know if they're going to be able to get a true freshman contributor like that, but he's jumped in. He's in the rotation. He's one of the first guys off the bench. He was the first guy off the bench along with Cheddar tonight. So that's a 6'7" coming off the bench, not 6'7", but your number 6 player, 6 man, and 7th player. That really gives you something for Dusty May. Love that tonight as well.
Yeah, I was with you on with the hype on LJ because it was like, okay, hold on, right? And look, this isn't a star freshman that Dusty stole from Duke or something when he got here, right? He was going to FAU with Dusty May. And I don't have it in front of me, but his D1 offers are not, he had like 3 from some small schools, right? This is an unbelievable find by Dusty May. And if you're a Michigan fan and you know, hey, you know, we're recruiting well and we're getting some top guys, but maybe you're going to pepper in this 3-star find every year too. Whoa, you know, I'm really excited about what Dusty May is bringing, but I'm with you. I thought about, you know, in recent years, freshman point guards that have played, whether it was Doug or Frankie and these guys that came in and they were doing enough things good that you could see their potential. And okay, you know, if they develop through the year and, you know, maybe start making these shots and you're projecting out as like a sophomore, LJ just looks so ahead of his age. It's unbelievable. He's very composed. You know, he doesn't get wild. Like you said, he just, even when he's being physical, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it is just that it
for him.
factor.
The game's pretty slow
Yes.
for him.
Yeah.
And that's a nice part. You know, another thing that jumps out if you're just looking at the box score, if you watch tonight, you'd say, well, how did the big man, Vlad Golden, you know, he was the prize out of the portal and the highest ranked guy, just 2 points. Doesn't score to the second half. He gets a jam there, but he had some early foul trouble, but only has 2 points in this game. You're like, heading in, if you said Golden is only going to get a deuce, you might think you're in a dogfight, but that's surprising. That'll probably be his low for the season. He'll just keep building, but that's a good sign when your big man and the guy that you're expecting to lead you maybe in scoring only comes up with 2 points, and you know it's not even consideration with how good they looked all together. And you know, you mentioned Cheddar. He lost some weight. He's always there. He's so fired up on the sideline, and then he came in and he was, I don't want to say spectacular, 7 of 9 from the floor, but he did have a spectacular jam towards the end of this game. He's running the floor. There is a little bit of a defense. A guy was trailing on him, and he just punched it right on him. And it was one of those where you jump out of your chair. And it was the highlight of the night for me watching this game. Will Cheddar going down on the break, throwing it down like he did.
Yeah, you got to be happy for a guy like Cheddar. And I really like the role he's in. And with how much rotation this team has, whether you're a starter or not, doesn't really matter, right? The starter and the bench are going to play similar minutes. And to your point with Vlad, it's going to depend night to night. This is a versatile team. There's going to be some nights where Vlad is the guy because that's where the matchup is. And you brought up Gale earlier. I think there's so much optimism around Gale and what he could potentially be in becoming maybe the star for this Michigan team, because his ascension after his freshman year was expected to be to this all big caliber player. He had his wrist injury and his 3-point shooting dropped pretty dramatically. So now healthy, he feels like a guy that can hit 40-45% of his threes and be that type of scorer. So there's going to be nights where Gale's the guy. There's going to be nights where Trey Donaldson's the guy. Wolf, whatever, you know, you can see that already. And yeah, it's not like Vlad was 1 for 8 or something, and that's why he only had 2 points, right? He only took the 1 shot, right? Yeah, 1 for 1. So, you know, it's just the flow of the game and the way it goes. It's not a bad performance. It's just the way the team played and in this matchup. And it's going to be interesting as the season goes on. But, you know, my gut feeling right now as I'm thinking about Big Ten play and having Vlad against the teams that have those kind of centers is going to come big, having the stretch forward with Wolf and having guard play. I mean, this team is built already, assuming they can continue to get even more cohesive and continue to find, you know, scoring opportunities. This is a team that's built to contend at the Big Ten legitimately.
Well, that might be putting the cart in front of the horse a little bit, but hey, that's what we do as we sit here. You mentioned,
I told you, too excited.
Well, you slid it in there, but you were correct in saying it. Last year, through 3 games, Michigan looked great. I mean, they couldn't have played any better. They went out and handled St. John's, ran them off the floor in the Garden. Damari Burnett looked like Dwayne Wade. They looked awesome. And, you know, when you have an opener like this, there are some things that, you know, the first thing I looked on Twitter and somebody was calling them the Michigan Wolverines off of Danny Wolf. I like that. And then the one right underneath that said, Dusty May is basketball's Kurt Signetti. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, this is just in the first half. I'm like, that's putting it a little bit, but, it is opening day and people are excited about that. So in the end, we all pointed out, the offensive rebounds, Michigan ends up out-rebounding the Cleveland State Vikings by 35-34. You mentioned the free throw, 69%. So there is a little bit to work on there. But other than that, a great success for Michigan as they really showed what they were all about. And they lived up to the preseason hype of how they were going to play. And for that, I give them 2 thumbs up in this game here tonight. What about you?
Yeah, and to be clear, my Big Ten optimism is just as much about Michigan as it is about the Big Ten. I don't think there's a clear top team in the conference. I think Michigan should be in that top 6 battle, and things could be wide open this year. So I'm not saying I think they're going to win the conference, but I think it's going to be an interesting year in the Big Ten for sure. But yeah, look, for night one, you did everything you could, right? If you, like you said, if you would have asked me my expectations, what would have made me happy coming out of tonight, nearly doubling up Cleveland State, I don't think was in the cards, right? Nope. Nearly breaking the field goal percentage, I don't think was out there. And doing it all with Vlad Golden only scoring 2 points. It's remarkable.
All right, we got a 3 stars, and then we'll look at the upcoming schedule, and then that'll do it for opening night. 3 stars. I think, for me, Danny Wolf, I mentioned him. There's all-around game, and he has 19 points on 8 of 10 shooting, and he had 13 points, so he has a double-double. I'll put Trey Donaldson there as the number 2 star, 4 of 4, perfect from the field, perfect from the free throw line for Trey, who has 16 points. And then how do you not put Will Cheddar off the bench? Had the highlight dunk, 7 of 9 from the floor, 15 points. Those would be your 3 stars to me. Cheddar and Donaldson and Wolf.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Wolf is probably star number 1. And then Donaldson, beyond the shooting, the perfect shooting tonight, he also led the team plus 42 when Trey Donaldson was on the floor. That's a big deal. And yeah, if you wanted to maybe argue for Walters over Cheddar, you could, but I think, Walters has got a shot, but man, that spark that Cheddar brings off the bench, I love that role for him this year. And I think he's just going to continue to do what he did tonight all year.
And let's look at the upcoming Michigan schedule, and that is brought to you by the Maize and Blue Review Stock Report by Trevor McHugh, the senior editor. And if you're not on the Den and you're not on the Maize and Blue Review, this is one of the major things that you are missing. You can sign up today by going to michigan.rivals.com. And that stock report, you check out the offense. You've got the videos that accompany it. You'll be a smarter Michigan football fan by going through it. Trevor lays it all out there for you on offense and on defense. And it is brought to you by the stock report by Mr. McHugh. And the next game for Michigan, a nice little test as they will be taking on Wake Forest this Sunday. And that is a 1:00 tip. And that game is on it's on ESPN and ESPN2. That is the upcoming schedule. So we'll see the Demon Deacons. They've started out 1-0, and then after that, you're never too far from thinking about football. Michigan will host TCU. We'll bring it. Talk about that. What was that? The Fiesta Bowl, right? And
it's one of the few games I've never rewatched.
Yeah, me neither. There you go. You got a final comment, Trevor?
No, like you said, that Wake Forest game, I think, is an exciting test. I think they're 2 evenly matched teams, and a W there could send them on a nice little run before they get into Big Ten play with Wisconsin.
Hopefully Michigan stays hungry like a wolf, the way Danny Wolf led him tonight. That was exciting for Trevor McHugh. I'm Dennis Fithian. That will do it. Michigan obviously 1-0 after their W tonight. How about it? 101-53 over Cleveland State. We're here after every Michigan basketball game and football game here on the Maize and Blue Review. Smash that like button. Give us those likes. We love the comments on the podcast. That's all good. And we'll see you over on the Maize and Blue review. Everybody have a good night.